Thank you for being here on this week's, actually the second to last Legacy Collaborative Monday Reset call. Today, we are so fortunate to have my amazing friend, Larray Hampton, who is a realtor with eXp. She also is the current president of the Asian Real Estate Association in the Charlotte metro market. She has a history of running businesses. She also is on the vision team for the Legacy Collaborative. And most importantly, she is a dear friend of mine, and she is excellent at planning and executing on wonderful events. And I know many of you have events as a part of what you've already done or will do in your real estate business, and or you have clients or people in your database that do events or plan to. And this is a very easy conversation for you to share with other people and make an impact in their businesses and what they're focused on, as well as apply it to yourself. So, Larray, thank you for saying yes.
My pleasure.
We're just so glad to have you here.
Try to make sure my camera's at the right place. All right. Let's see if this is right. No. Yeah, I think it is. All right. So fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to see you ladies on. And am I able to share my screen, Sandra?
You sure are. Yes.
Okay, let's see if I can decide on what is going to get shared. Let's see if that works.
And
All
what we're
right.
going to do is Lorraine's going to go through her 10 steps to a flawless event. And then at the end, we'll still have the 15 minutes for you to ask questions, share your ahas, all of that.
Okay. So I'm going to skip over I'm going to go pretty quickly through everything, but what I'm not going to do is go through each point because there's so much. When we're talking about putting together an event, it can make and break you in some ways. So, you remember those events that are terrible, right? Has anyone been to an event that like one thing just was like very bad that stood out? Tell me.
I am a big, I just really don't care for when it's so loud that you can't talk to the people around you
Yeah,
because no one considered what the noise level was going to be.
right. That's great. That's definitely something that's reserved for a concert. Diamond.
Nobody was there.
Yeah, that's a rough one because that marketing piece is really important. And what about you, Britt?
I think when it's confusing when you enter, like you don't know where to go, you're not greeted and you don't
Yeah.
know, like, kind of, is this where we enter? Is this the
Yes,
event? Like, what do I do? Where do I go? Because everybody
exactly.
wants to walk in and feel like they belong and they know what's going on. So I think that initial contact is when that's missing, it's like, what is this place?
Exactly. So I'll tell you just a quick thing about me so obviously I'm president of ARIA. I've been president of the Women's Council of Realtors, which we don't have here in the Charlotte area, but it's a fantastic organization. I'm licensed in North, South, and Carolinas and California. But what really got me into event planning was that I started my career in public relations. My major in college was poli-sci and public relations. And what I did was I worked for a tech company I worked for a tech PR agency where we hosted trade shows, we put on events for our clients. And so these were really big organizations that were startups that right now are in the Fortune 100. So we were putting on events for them and they were very critical. And so that's how I got started with this. And I shouldn't say even that. I go back to college. I was president of I was on the board of a lot of things in college, particularly the fine arts board. And we used to host events. And so there was I've had a lot of experience with it. And so I know what not good looks like, in my opinion. But I also know some of the things that really make things magic. There's no perfect event. But when you have some things that create that aha moment, people don't even care about those other things. So I will say the first thing is to give yourself some grace. Why we host events in the first place is really just about educating people. So some of you are going to have events because you want to do a home buyer event or a home seller event, or you want to do something that's really going to bring attention to yourself. You want to do something maybe because you want to build your network. And hosting events is a really critical component because people say, hey, my database isn't deep enough. I look at my phone or whatever it is, and I don't have that database yet, especially as a new agent. But hosting an event and getting people to that event, automatically you're able to add those people into your database. So doing that within communities can be exceptionally helpful. It does create connection. Many of us who went to the winter event for the Legacy Collaborative, one of the things we learned about was bringing people to the table for dinner, and just when you break bread with someone, you can create intimate experiences with them where you want to work together more. And then, of course, celebrations. We love celebrations. And finally, just building trust. And I'm gonna stay with that issue, that topic, building trust. When you host an event, when you put something on and you bring people into your space as your guest, it is an opportunity for that person to see you as competent, to see you as thoughtful, and to really see your imprint on things and feel like they know you better. So it also gives you authority when you are able to host an event and you're the one who's perhaps speaking at the event, or even if you're emceeing, it gives you authority. So these things can be exceptionally helpful. And so we'll get into it and I'm going to tell you something, there's not 10 steps, there's more than that, but we're going to break it down into some. So the first one is the pre-planning, and I will tell you that I believe that this is probably the most important part of having the presentation, but it is also the thing that people don't do, right? We say, hey, I'm going to host this event. I'm going to host a birthday party. I'm going to host a specific event. And we don't sit down first and develop a plan for it. You start off by reviewing feedback from previous events you've had or previous events others have had. It's like sitting on this call and asking people, what are the things that you didn't enjoy? What were the things that you did enjoy? And just by taking that knowledge, you don't need to go and learn them, make the mistakes and learn all over again. You need to take the information that people already have about events, or you looking at events that you've had in the past, and write those things down and find ways to ensure that those things are pre-planned so that you don't make those mistakes. Making sure that you have signage, for example, making sure you have a greeter. Those things are really important. Making sure the sound levels are checked. And so those are things that you may not have thought to do, but get a small group together and ask people. So that's the one thing. The other thing is having a clear mission statement and vision for the event and ensuring that it aligns with the mission of your organization or you. So you knowing who you are, you knowing what your brand is, does the event that you're putting on even align with who you are and what you want to accomplish? Critical. Let's get next.
Ray, can I ask you a question around that topic?
Yes,
And you can
please.
tell me if it relates here or later. So, is this where they would double check if the values that they have identified that are the top values for their company are in alignment with what they're doing?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're a person who has a specific value set, it may not align with you having an event at a brewery. Maybe. I would have an event at a brewery, but there are people for whom that wouldn't be acceptable. If you're not going to have it at a strip club, I mean, I know that's a really extreme example, but I love extreme examples that get your attention. But what I'm saying to you is that where you have your event, who you market to, how you host the event, all those things have to align with your brand. So you want to look at your brand, who you are, before as you're putting this together. And finally, you want to make sure that you've reviewed the expected outcomes. This is like people don't get to this until after the event sometimes. If you ask them how did the event go, they'll say, oh, it went well, or it was nice, or I don't think it went well, but they can't tell you why. If my goal is to host an event, and from that event, I want to walk away with 4 new coaching clients. I want to walk away with 4 new clients or 10 new leads, whatever it specifically is, you need to write that down, and be sure that that's what it is. If your vision is to create community and make sure that you've connected with at least 20 new people in the community that you didn't know before, write that down. And so when someone asks you how was your event, you'll know if you succeeded or didn't succeed because you either met your goals or you didn't. My goal is to raise $500,000. Did you raise $500,000? Yes or no? And so water is wet. It's not a if or and or but. It's just, did you do the thing that you really set out to do? And did you plan your event for that particular goal? When you're doing that, once you have that vision of what you want to do, you have an idea of what that's going to look like. The next part is to put together a specific smart plan. And do you all have experience in putting together smart plans? Anyone? Yeah. And so, when you think about it, I'll give you an example of something we did with this last event. So we had a very poor experience in the past with having a lot of the people show up to help with the event. I know it never happens. And so when we put together the next event we were doing, we sat down and created a SMART plan for exactly what we needed in order for that to not happen again. So, for example, we knew that we wanted to have an exact plan for what positions were needed, who needed to be where at what time. We needed a schedule for that. We needed to know we had to identify people specifically or who were going to be there. So we knew how many people, it was measurable. We knew the time frames we needed. We knew how many people we needed. Was it attainable or achievable? Yes, it was. And was it relevant to this particular event? We don't want to take like, oh, we did this last time, so we're doing it this time. Always start with a new mindset and think, is that needed this time? Yeah, don't wear people out if you don't need to. And then time bound, make sure that you've communicated to people in time effect and you've written in what are your check-in points with people to make sure they know what they're supposed to be doing. So that's just one tiny component, but it's important to have those plans. Two is know your audience. I would say this is also exceptionally important because if you are putting together an event and your audience is general, you may not achieve what you need to achieve. So, can someone tell me an event or something they hosted where they had a very specific audience?
We hosted an event for home buyers specifically. Is that the question that you only want answered?
Absolutely.
It's just
That was your exact, it was exactly home buyers. So, what did you do just to get to that specific audience?
for marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Or you market?
in the past, do Facebook ads, but I have a real issue with the marketing piece to make sure attendance is what I want or that to exactly happen. So I just run the Facebook ad or I'll pass out flyers. I did a wealth event recently at
Yes.
Pinnacle Bank, and we just had the lender print out flyers, and that was really the base of it because of the budget for the marketing. How much are you going to invest to spend to get
Yep.
people there, or what's the most effective strategy to get people there?
Yeah. And I'll say something about that. When you have time, but not money, you have to use the time. So that is when you're doing the door knocking. That is when you're reaching out and calling every single person that you know. That is when you're texting. When you don't have the financial resources to get to the number you think you need to get to, it's important that you use your time to do that. And, but if you have the resources, it may not take as much time because maybe now you're able to run, like you said, run ads or do some more in-depth marketing. But knowing your audience is important, including, and I'm just going to go through some specific things that you might think are just wild, but are important to me. So I'm going to see if I can share this document without sharing it, without opening it too much. One second. Let's see. All right, here we go. So when we're looking at audience, we're looking at the demographics. Who is the target audience?
It is. So you're still on your slide that says know your audience, yes?
Okay, sure. Let me go back and see if I can share this with you. Let's make sure this is right. Here it is. So these are event audience questions that I ask for events. Can you see the page now? Demographics. Okay. What's their age range, right? If you know that the age range is a specific age, you have to look at how are you communicating to that audience and where are they coming from? Is there parking, for example, right? What jobs or titles do they hold? How much do they know about the topic? So my audience is a lot of times it's CEOs of different companies. And so I need to make sure that I'm coaching those people at a high level. I have a propensity to go high level and then somebody's like really needed the details differently. So make sure you know that. What are their motivations and expectations? Like, why do they want to attend this event? What problem are they hoping that it will solve? This is a very big one. And what transformation do we want them to walk away with? And that's where you're going to get your stickiness with people. That's when the people are going to be talking to people about you because they're walking away transformed, just like with this event today. If you walk away with nothing and there's no transformation in you with your next event, then I didn't do my job. What content do they value most, right? And how do they want to do that? Hesitations, you want to be able to address those as well. And then going through experience and engagement preferences. Do they want what you just said, Sandra? Do they want high energy or a calm professional atmosphere? Do they want audience participation or do they prefer to listen and observe? I can tell you when I was working in Silicon Valley, my engineers, they were not excited about participation, but they were completely geeked out about learning and observing. How long can we realistically keep their attention? I just hosted the event with Aria, and when we did so, I made sure that we didn't have any speakers any minutes longer than we needed to. When you come to a holiday party, what do you want to do?
Socialize.
Socialize. You want to dance. You want to talk to people. You want to just connect with people and let your hair down. Do you want to sit and listen to a speaker at a holiday party, though? And that's what it's called. No, you do not. So I made sure that the only talk we had was for me to take time to do something that was exceptionally important, and that was to appreciate my board of directors who put their whole year into this organization. And I was going to do that publicly. We always appreciate publicly. And so that I made that as short as possible. But know that part, that's really important. How long can we realistically keep their attention? What is the ideal length? And how tech comfortable is the audience? Logistics, what's the best day and time? Do they prefer virtual, in-person, or hybrid events? Do you need to consider accessibility accommodations? What venue works for their comfort and convenient? And then finally, I'm going to send this to you guys all, by the way. What is the value and delivery style? What's the tone that resonates with this group? Are they going to laugh at your jokes or do they need something that's a really straight shooter? But as you go through this list that I'm going to send you, you'll see that there's so many different aspects that you have to look at when you're looking at your audience. So I want you to understand that what we just looked at were two things. One was we looked at we looked at the people that were coming and we looked at our plan, right? Those are just two components. And do you feel that from those two components, you've got a lot to work with in terms of creating your event?
Yes.
When you know who your people are, when you have a solid plan, it's a game changer. Next slide, which I'm going to share as soon as I can get to it. One second. All right. All right. Oh man, I'm doing it wrong. All right, well, I'll keep talking while I'm doing this. The next part is who is on your team. So I want you to think about this from this perspective of the Legacy Collaborative. You're hosting an event and you need to understand who are the people who are going to be on the team with you. Nope, we didn't want to do that. Can you see that now?
No.
Okay, well, you might have to see my chatter. Yay, I think we got it.
Yes.
Sorry, I can't do full screen. Okay, who's on your team? I'm going to tell you right now, having a lot of bodies does not matter if those bodies don't show up. If those bodies take up your time because you're having to constantly coach them. What's awful is having to constantly coach someone, prepare them, and then they don't show up, right? What commitment levels do you have from the people that are going to be there? Do they understand the vision and purpose of the event? Do they know specifically their role and responsibility? And this is one of the things that I managed teams for a long time. My last team was 327 people. One of the things I always asked people was, tell me what I said. Tell me what your role is. Tell me what the vision of this event is. Because when I ask you this question, do you understand? What do we get from people? Yes. They shake their head yes. But until you actually ask that person, I want you to teach it back to me. That's when you really understand. And what is that person's skill and gaps? My friends know that if they want me to do an event, they usually want me to be on the cleanup portion, not on the setup portion. That's just my personality. I'm going to stay later, I'll clean up, but you don't want me there at the earliest because it might not work out. So we all have to know what our skills and what the gaps are of those people. We have to know what the accountability portion is. And the accountability is very hard when you're working with volunteers. And so I think that that's a conversation that has to be had with people. I do talk to people about what expectations are. I got sick this year, but I was not going to give up and quit being president of ARIA because I had made a commitment. And one thing I do want people to know about me is that I show up. So I'm going to honor my commitment to something that's important, even when it's inconvenient for me or uncomfortable. Budget and resources, really important that the team understands the budget and resources for their particular portion of the event. As an example, I had a person who was my events person who was helping with decor. And she said, I'm not going to spend that much on flowers, but I do think we need fresh flowers. I said, sure, go ahead. Go get the flowers. Fantastic. I'm not going to spend that much. Okay, so $800 later, we got beautiful flowers, but it wasn't in the budget. It just was not a part of the budget. There were so many other things we needed to spend money on. So my point is that making sure that your team can actually speak to you about what is the budget for the things that they have to purchase or the things that they're responsible for. And because otherwise they may be, even in a brainstorming session, they may be coming up with ideas of grandeur that don't fit your expenses. And then finally, contingencies and risk management. Do they know the contingency plan? Do they know what happens when things go sideways? I went to an event this week. The keynote speakers, two of them did not show up. So they were having to figure out what are we going to do now? We don't have the speaker here. And I think they did a really good job, but having those things in advance planned are important. And then finally, like what if your top person, your speaker, doesn't come? What do you have as backup? A lot of times I'll have two people who do the same thing at an event. I'll invite one and say, you're my backup, literally. And then event day management, who's going to be responsible for that? And then who's responsible for the debriefing, the follow-up, and the surveys after the event. So know who's on your team. And then finally, now that you've got that, I know my audience, I've got the plan for the event, and I know who's going to be helping me with it, then you choose your venue. The majority of time when people are choosing events, the first thing they start with is the venue. They get really excited about the venue, and that's what they talk about, and they go for that. But the venue may not even align with the vision for the event. It may not even be appropriate. And so that's why having those other things are so critical up front. Once you have those three things, I know who, I know what, and I know who I'm trying to target, then it's much easier to find that perfect venue for your event. Who was I talking to? Someone who was doing a luxury event.
Nicole.
And Nicole,
Yeah.
Nicole's doing a luxury event. And so, of course, she's trying to find a place that aligns with that vision of luxury. Does it make sense for her to do it at a place that is a bar? Probably not, right? So we want to ensure that it fits. A thing that people don't think about that's really important is parking, because when someone is, let's say they're coming to an after work event and they're coming in the evening and they're tired and they've dragged themselves to the event and now they're circling because they can't find parking in the downtown area wherever the event is. We don't have this as much in Charlotte, but we do in lots of cities. It's important that those things have been communicated in advance. The solutions there. Flow. What is the lighting going to be like? Is it accessible? So, what's the sound like? Is there going to be echoes? So, I hosted an event at the beginning of this year. It was our installation gala. And in that particular event, I had a very small venue at the Mint Museum and it was very dark. So, understanding that, but it was the right price. And it was aligned with me. It was my installation as president, and I love art. And so this was like a perfect thing because each gala is supposed to represent the incoming president. And so that was perfect for me. I love the Met Museum. I love art. But the space, I had to look at it and think, if this is a really dark space, how do I make it work? And so I did. I made it a candlelight event. And that was what I did to so that it seemed like it was supposed to be dark. So make sure you're visiting in person. Make sure you're thinking about and walking through as a guest. If I were walking in as a guest, how would I walk through? What would I innately do? And put that together for yourself. Lighting, music, decor, theme, and branding are very important. And then, of course, photos. We live in a video digital age. And we cannot afford to not have photos and video. It's worth putting your money into. It's really important because it's the thing that is going to give your event longevity. If I host an event and 30 people show up, but I have fantastic pictures of people having a good time, I've got video, and I can create stories from that, how many people are going to show up at my next event? Probably double because they're seeing what this looks like. If I didn't have that, I'm starting all over again, basically. Any questions so far?
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Larray, is when you are looking for venues, I know you have an extensive list of venues here because of how long you've been doing events in the Charlotte metro market. But if someone was just starting fresh, I know number one would probably be ask you if it's here. Second, what would be the system that you would follow if you were in a new market looking for venues and didn't want to be scattered and just wanted to do a quick, like,
Yep. Yep.
ABC comparison
Yep.
list of what would
Sure.
work?
Yes. So there's a couple of answers. Number one, I love the guide. Here comes the guide for the bridal resources are amazing because bridal resources have every event in town you can have an event at. So if you look at Here Comes the Guide or you look at other bridal resources, you're going to find almost all the information you need for lots of venues. Number two, your city and county. Your city and county have events all the time. They have event spaces all the time, whether it's community centers, rooms that you can use. Some things that you may not think are public are public. For example, in Charlotte, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, people think it belongs to NASCAR, but it does not. It is actually run by the Visitors Bureau. I forget what it's called here. Convention and Visitors Bureau. I forgot what it is, but you understand. My point is that it's a part of the city. And so this is another place to start because sometimes there are beautiful, in Charlotte, there is a beautiful community center that overlooks, has a view of uptown. Very nice place, really inexpensive, like $100. It's the city. So all I'm saying is that I start with the guides, I go to the city events, and then of course, as we're meeting people, we're asking people, what's the best event you've been to here? Anyone you can ask. Hotels would be my third thing to go to. I don't prefer hotels all the time because a lot of times they don't have as much originality, but you may have a space that may just be perfect for a specific event. Those are things I would start with. You'll get a lot from that. And event centers. There's a lot of event centers. And some of those can really accommodate you in terms of being creative. Did that answer your question?
That was great. Thank you. One of the things, since we're in between choosing a place and budgeting like a pro, one of the things I wanted to remind people of is you actually can have events at your house or at someone else's home, and you can pay for it the same amount that you would pay if you were to host that same exact thing somewhere else. And that's a really great tax deduction.
Yes.
It's called the Augusta rule. So make sure that you're really familiar with that opportunity if it exists for your particular property or one of your friends' properties.
I do also think it's important to be careful with Airbnbs event because they specifically have a portion that says no events, no parties. So the worst thing that can happen is they've got cameras or they have neighbors, nosy neighbors, and your event gets shut down. That's very embarrassing. Budget like, oh, and I'm sorry about events. One more thing I didn't put on the slide, insurance. Get event insurance. It's not a crazy expense, but it is worth it. We hosted an event where two people, the food wasn't labeled. Two people ate nuts that were allergic to it and ended up at the hospital that night. We had an event recently where one of the guests decided to pay for drinks for everyone. Literally stood there and said, next 200 drinks on us. So the bar became an open bar. I don't do open bars for my events because I'm concerned about liability. Because when you have open bars, people do drink a lot. There are times to have it. I'm just saying that a lot of times I don't because I want to make sure I quell the number of people who are drinking and or how much people are drinking. But in this particular case, it became an open bar because they said whatever you want, and great for everyone. They had a good time. However, the downside was I have liability when people are leaving my event, whether I handed them their keys or not. And so that's the other thing. And then the third thing in terms of liability is the people who are helping you with the event. Be really cautious about recording meetings and things like that because people can say things that now become your liability. They may have information. Let's say we're doing an event and they have attendees information that's private and they may do something with it. So you have to be really clear about those things. So insurance, budgeting like a pro. I probably should have had that one before the venue. Sorry. The budgeting really does go at the beginning. Once you're creating your event, always ask for discounts. People call me and they're like, this place is only $500. I'm like, well, did you ask them for a discount? You'd be surprised. People will say, yeah, we'll give you this much. Like I have gotten thousands of dollars off of events just by asking multiple times. Having a contingency is really important for 10 to 15%. I'm much more nervous about that, so I'm probably more of a 20% contingency person. When you're setting up your venues or you're organizing, make sure that you're asking questions about what are the things that you're not telling me I have to pay for. What are the things you're not telling me I have to pay for right now? Because if you're comparing a venue that's $800 to a venue that's $1,200, but then you find out that this one is going to nickel and dime you, the $800 one, for every plate, tablecloth, napkin, this person to be there must use our caterer. There was one event space that was beautiful and it was really affordable, and but that you had to use their caterer. And when I got their catering quote back, it was $18,000 for what we wanted to do. And whereas the other place was a little bit more, but we paid 5,000. So those are critical. And so making sure you're categorizing your costs, your decor. And when you were talking about those smart plans, those are the smart plans. You're not just like decor. You're literally breaking it down because you can say we only have $600 for decor, but when you start breaking it down, flowers and tablecloths and all the things, your numbers can grow really quickly. And so you have to you can decide on how you want to scale there. Any questions about the budgeting part?
I didn't see on here to partner with, and I think it just depends on what your business is. I didn't see on here to partner with vendors to
Yes.
offset the cost. And that's
Oh,
something that is, especially around this time of year, vital, in my opinion, to identify your core partners that are going to be a piece of your business going into next year that will also benefit from the same relationships that you have that can offset the cost for whatever event you're doing.
absolutely. I'm glad you said that. We have sponsors for all of our events. We're doing an event January for ARIA, and that event is going to be a new home builders. And we brought in the head of the New Home Builders Association, someone who's like amazing. And we have various builders who are going to be participating. And we got to look at what are the industries, who can this help? So maybe it's a company like Floors and Decor. Maybe it's a company like Baxter Cabinets. Maybe it's anything that's related to that industry where those people are also trying to get the attention of those builders that are going to be at this event. So you do want to look at that for in terms of your budgets. The partnerships really matter.
Well, and the way
And
you just said it is perfect because people hesitate in asking for sponsorships or partnerships because they think they're asking for something instead of them wanting to win together with that person and them getting a clear understanding of what they're getting from it. So
Mhm.
I love that you specifically think that way of who else would benefit from the same audience,
Yeah,
right?
what's in
Because
it for them?
that is exactly how you'll be able to communicate what the partnership looks like.
Yeah. So what's it? So Diamond, what were you going to ask?
That answers my questions
Yeah.
about the sponsorship and how to create those relationships. So the main thing is just seeing how they will be able to benefit as well.
Yes. I start off with what's in it for them because I like someone just wrote a sponsorship letter and the letter was like, this is what we're doing. But why do I care? Why do I care about this? So I start off with how can this impact this person's business too? And am I going to commit to that as well? Am I going to commit to being a good partner? And people can help in all kinds of ways. I can have someone who is a table sponsor. They just have their branding on the tables. I can have someone who is a speaking partner. I can find all different levels of partnerships for people. My favorite is when someone is like the complete event sponsor, every dime they're going to cover. And then the rest that I charge is fundraising or something. So that's great. I'm going to go through because I'm almost out of time.
Oh,
You'll get
sorry,
this.
can I ask just a quick question about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a great, I'm really good at asking for sponsorship. I'm really
Yep.
bad at charging people for sponsorship.
At what?
One thing
Charge?
about
Oh.
charging people, like
Mm-mm.
collecting the money, what is one thing that like this is exactly how it has to go? Invoice, do you send out an invoice?
Yes.
How do you do it?
Always. Always send out an invoice. I don't care if you have to just go into Canva and make one, but you send out an invoice because they need it for their record keeping. They need an invoice and they need a receipt. They need that for their own taxes because it's their business write-off usually. They need it because they need to submit it to their company for payment. So all I do is we talk about it, they make the commitment, send them the invoice right away, and then they pay the invoice and you give them whatever time frame it is, net 30 days or whatever it is. So yeah, that's important. Does that answer your question? Yep. Okay.
I
Who's
just
on the
typed in the chat real quick that Stripe is a really easy online invoicing system that doesn't take a lot of work for you to set up.
Yeah, I have some people that use PayPal. I mean, it just really just depends. We talked about that. We talked about that. This is really important. As you're putting it together, you've got your venue, you've got your game plan, you've got your people. And your people, if you have the right people on your team and you give them a portion, this is the thing I've learned more than anything, is that there are people who will volunteer for a lot, but they can really only handle a small amount. But my favorite thing is just to give everyone a small job. Like your job is literally to set up the tables with the decor the day of. Your job is to greet people the day of. Your job is to call people to remind them of their jobs the day before, whatever it is. And so I like having people have small jobs because it's much easier to get those things done and get a commitment from people. But anyway, communicate often and expect it with your vendors, with your team members, with your sponsors. I have a call with my sponsors or with my speakers. Whenever we have a speaker, I actually have a call with that speaker. I walk them through the run of show. This is what's going to happen that day. I run them through how much time they have, at what point they'll go on in the meeting, and I answer their questions. I ask them, how are they going to present? What AV do you need? What are the things that you expect as an outcome from this event? And so I have a 30-minute call with them each time I have the event. And then the best part is that if you have someone else who invited that guest, make sure that you're communicating with them. Hey, I just want you to know I spoke to this person. They're clear on what's expected. Here's the email. Maybe you CC them, because if that person invited someone, let's say Sandra says, Lori, I have this person's a great speaker, and she doesn't know what's going on with me and the speaker. It's really important that that person never loses face. You want them to be clear too, and you want to show them that you're doing the work properly on behalf of that person. And then finally, the follow-up. And the follow-up is usually has to be planned in advance. You want to have a small gift, flowers, a card, something that's going to appreciate those people at the end. But anyway, I do like as I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you have your backups for everything. Assume things aren't going to work. Assume. Assume something's going to get left at home. Try to have things with multiple people if you can. I had a snowstorm. We had a snowstorm in Charlotte, which is not really a snowstorm. The roads are closed because it's icy storm. But here's the problem. They shut everything down. It was a pretty nice day the next day, but all the schools were closed. So our guests could not attend. It was our first event, but so many people couldn't because their children weren't going to be able to come. I mean, they had children all of a sudden. And so we just made it virtual. We figured it out. We got our tablet and we created a virtual portion of it. And so we wound up having about 30 people show up in person, but then we had all these other people that were online. And so that was something that we had set up, that we had never set up before, but we did that just because we knew that we wanted to get the information out to people. And as the leader of the event, stay calm. If you are a freaker outer person or you're someone who gets angry when things go sideways, you might need to point someone else to be in charge during the day of, because that experience will impact everyone else too around you. So, and you have to know yourself. Having self-discipline when you're having these events is really important. So so make sure everything's confirmed, don't assume anything. And then once I have all those things in place, I'll master the program flow. And this is what Sandra and I talked about. You got to go back over your program flow while you're planning, but really the day before is really, really critical because things may have changed. Someone may have said they cannot attend. And so now you want to make sure that you have a run of show, meaning every minute is accounted for that day. Every minute is accounted for that day. And it starts with not when the show begins, but it starts with the morning of. So if what's going to happen, what time does the location open? When is everyone expected to be there? Who's going to set up what at what time? At what time we're going to do each thing. And so it could be like 9:10 we're doing this. 9:10 to 9:15 we're doing this. This has to be done. And what it does for you is it helps you understand how if things are going smoothly or not, and if your event is going to go well or not, because it just helps you stay on track. So run of show is just really deeply important. It's important that the people around you know what that run of show is so that they can help keep you on track, and making sure that you have time for transitions, buffers, bathroom breaks. If the speaker is late, where can you insert that person again in the program? Things like that. And so any questions about run of show? Has anyone ever had a program where there's no run of show and the timing was very off, or you had to run a show and it went really well?
Both.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I attended an event that was like two events in one. And there was like a large mastermind group portion that had all of these events, and then a secondary mastermind that was after the next day. And the first event was so well organized and run. And when then we transitioned to the other event, the energy just dropped through the bottom. There were no breaks. It was so boring. And like these were really great people with a lot of wisdom to share, but the event was just so horribly run that it was just like day and night at the contrast. So yeah, it really highlighted what was good about the other one and what was needed improvement.
And you want to be careful because there's two pieces to this. One, you don't want to get people out of their seats to move, even if it's just them standing up and doing a stretch. You want to keep people energized. But at the same time, you don't want to have major transitions when you don't need to, because people will leave. Yep, people will just like leave during oh, we're gonna have this break, and during this break we're gonna move from here to here. People will walk out the door. So you want to make sure
I did.
that you're doing that. Case in point. So you want to be really cautious about that too. The last thing is follow up and appreciation. And so I know we have a lot of details, but these are the things that are the must do's. Everything else you can fill in. Having that plan, having your theme, understanding what you're trying to accomplish, all those things we talked about, those are the must do's, and everything else will fill in there. But this last part is the second part that people don't do. So it's always the first part that people don't do, and then this is the last part that people don't do. And as a result of this, they make the same mistakes over and over again, or our things don't get better. So you want to make sure that you're thanking your sponsors. And a lot of times you can have this built in. You can have something that's going to get dropped in the mail like that day or sent to them that day right after the event. You can hit send, and when they get back to their office, it's sitting there, or whatever it is, right? You can use something like Client Giant. Client Giant sends gifts. It's a great tool. There's lots of tools like that where it'll automatically send the gifts for you. Share photos and highlights. You want to get those out pretty quickly. And so make sure that you know when you're booking your photographer and videographer how long after the event you're going to have those things. You want to get them onto your social media. I had someone in particular for this last event tell me, I don't want to be in any of the pictures or videos that go online. Well, we told you there's videography, but in this particular case, and the person wasn't a ton of pictures, I figured it out. I was like, all right, let me accommodate. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But I was like, anyway, maybe they weren't supposed to be where they're supposed to be. Ask for feedback. And when you're asking for feedback, you want to make sure that you're able to have something that can go out to the people who attended. Feedback is best at the event. Relying on people to give you feedback via email is like crazy. You'll send out 90 of them and you'll get back two. I know this, we do this with Canopy all the time, and it's very difficult. The best thing is if a person can give you feedback that day and you go and pick them up from the table if you can. But you do want to ask for feedback from the people who participated, and you want to ask for feedback from the people who help put the thing together, your team. And when you do your feedback, don't have a general session, have a very specific list of questions that are extremely detailed that you ask the group, and a breakaway like a week later so people have time to digest it, or 5 days later, and figure out what you want to do again and what you don't want to do, what went well. And sometimes you might think something went well, but that person overheard people grumbling about something in the bathroom, right? And then the last thing is to document those messages, those things that you learned. This is the last part. And I'm telling you, if you can do these things, you've done more than most people ever in an event. Most people pick a venue, pick the food, pick some decorations, send out some emails or marketing, and that's it. The whole marketing piece is its own presentation. There's a lot you can do with marketing, but I'm telling you, if you can get these things done for an in-person event, and a lot of these things are actually really relevant for an online event. This pre-planning portion, very relevant. Picking the right venue, knowing who your audience is, very relevant. So I will send all of these slides to Sandra, all of them, and the lists I have more lists than I showed you, and I'll send those to her, and that you'll all have access to it.
Wow, thank you so much. You went through so many things, and I know for people that maybe are doing a smaller level of events right now currently, or who are planning to do some that might be smaller scale than what this seems to be appropriate for, like a really excellent broker open or something like that, are probably thinking, which of what I'm planning to do next year does this apply to? And what I would say is, what if you asked yourself those high level questions about 100% of what you do, even if the list is smaller, such that you have that quality happening every single time, and that causes the people that are a part of things with you to know that that's the quality you stand for.
That's real. If you're having a broker's open, if you're having an open house, I genuinely have a plan for those things as well. I use these strategies for that as well. I need to know who I want to be there, all those things. And you can do it by yourself. If it's just you don't have to worry about knowing who's going to help necessarily. But I'm telling you, it makes for a more effective event. And I'm seeing right now a lot of people who are struggling getting people to their listings, struggling. And it's because I think that they think that if they just host an open event, people will show, as opposed to having an entire plan that is a part of your system for how I do these. And what am I learning from one to the next? How am I?
Also, oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Pamela.
Actually, now that you mentioned that, do you have any of your smart plans for events published to the library?
I do not. I do not.
So she's referring to SMART with the typical goal setting acronym,
Oh,
Pamela,
smart.
of
Plans.
it being,
I
Yeah,
got it.
I don't. I have a lot of success with open houses, but a lot of it's because I take a digital and I do a lot of digital marketing. And I've been so many times in situations where people are calling me and they're like, Larray, are you getting anyone at your open house? Because I try and coordinate with other agents. Like I want to do it the same day you guys do it, same time so we can get the people in the audience, in the neighborhood. Let's work together. And there is enough for everyone. And I want your success. I can be successful and you can be successful. But I try and do that, and I've had people call me and say, like, no one's at my listing, and mine is like so packed. I'm like, I can't talk to you. But it's because I have a strategy and a plan for every single one of them that I execute each time, and it's a part of my flow. And I'm willing to spend money. I don't have to spend a lot of money, $100 maybe, $200. But I'm telling you, it's a game changer. If I spend $200 on an open house, let's call it 250 because I usually have food, right? And somebody else spends none and they just have their normal open house, and I get people in there, uh, and I consistently I've been selling houses from open houses, selling houses from open houses.
yes, you get listings from it
I get listings and I've been getting sales. I've been finding the buyers.
for the house.
2.25 million buyer open house. Buyer just had a house that was on the market for 90 days, couldn't sell it. I took over the listing. Open house, first day, sold. So all I'm saying to you is that executing a plan that's consistent and making the tweaks to it until it becomes excellent is really important. And it has to fit your personality. Sorry, Diamond. Where'd you go?
Are there any books that you recommend to read to get this information that you're not sharing on this Zoom?
Are you talking about specifically with the marketing portion of it?
Yeah, and just kind of like the whole event planning, like is there anything that can get really strategic and tactical
Yes.
specifically?
I mean, like you can imagine how tactical I could be on this call. We'd be on one point for the whole call. Okay, honestly. So, I mean, I can give you some things. I'll send you some things that we used to use, but it's easiest when you know the portion that you don't know. If you like, oh man, this is the portion I really struggle with, then it's easier for me to identify a book around that particular thing. So I can give
To
you
be
some
great.
suggestions.
I think my biggest issue is getting people there, getting people to show up.
Yeah, that's your listing portion and I mean your marketing portion. So that's a whole, like I said, that's a whole another discussion, but I can get you some information for now.
And if you all want, we can bring Larray back in 2026 about that part by itself, if
Yeah.
that would be valuable for all of you. So we can
I
do
mean, the
that.
marketing part, I was director of marketing for several.com. Like this is This is what I used to do specifically. That's why I couldn't even like put that in here because I don't know how to do marketing small. Like it is so critical. You have the marketing that gets people in the door. This part is about having when people hit that door, you didn't waste all your money on marketing because your event is not good. This is about making sure that when your event happens, you're actually capturing the audience and every experience they have and everything that they touch speaks to quality, speaks to quality for your event. So yeah, I can put together like a little guide for A, open houses, and two, I can put together a guide for do something for marketing if you like, and I'll send you a list of books and resources, no problem.
That's
I would
awesome.
love it.
Larray, I love the point that you touched on about making sure you know the goal of an event. Like, what is the outcome that you want? Because I think it's so easy to plan like a fantastic event. And then everyone involved in the event is like, ooh, this would be fun. This would be great. Everyone would love this. But you're not focused on what the outcome is going to be. So it may not convert the way that you want it to, because while you were thinking all these fun things, it may not have produced the result that you
Precisely.
need. And then coming
And
in, I think, is a game changer.
it wastes money and it wastes energy. Here's the
Yeah.
thing, multinational corporations, they don't do everything. Do you know how many ideas they probably get for like, oh, you're McDonald's, you can also do this and this and this and this. I have to go back and look at my core. What was my mission? What was my vision for my company? What would I want to accomplish? What are those goals? And from there, as I'm getting ideas, I work for a company. I remember the CEOs, I'm sitting in their meetings sometimes and they would just I would say, well, why don't you guys do this? Or I met this guy has this great product. Why don't we sell that? And he says it's not in line with who we say we are and what we want to do. So yeah, it is great. It's just not great for us. It'll probably make a lot of money, but that's just not what it's not in our category. It's not in our plan. So understanding like yourself as a channel, understanding like specifically every idea is going to come to you. This is the number one agent issue is that we get so many ideas. We go to all these meetings, we get all these ideas. We're like, oh, I should do that, and I should do that, and I should do that. You have to sit down, especially, and just make sure that you're so clear on who you are and what you want to accomplish. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels trying to do all these things and nothing is getting delivered. Are you leaving? Okay, all right.
Thank you so much for being here. I know, thank you everyone for being patient. If you could just share one top takeaway in the chat so that she'll know what it is, in gratitude for her investing her time with us. I would really appreciate that. And a couple of things. And Larray, thank you so much for investing this time with us. We're so grateful for you. And yesterday was her birthday, if y'all didn't already wish her a happy birthday. And there's a couple of announcements really quick on the legacycollaborative.co. You all, since you chose to invest your time today, are the very first people to know about this. There is now a legacy assessment that is up and running that you can take once a month to check in to see how you are doing in all the categories of living your legacy. And I would recommend that you take it and then add it to your calendar every single month so that you can watch as you make progress in all of those areas. And let me know if there's anything you want to dive into. And also, we will have Larray back. I know that's like most of the comments we're getting right now. So don't worry, this is not your last time learning from her. And she helps with a lot of things we do in the Legacy Collaborative that you guys don't always get to see. So I'm extra grateful for her doing that. So if you all will just share the assessment out, I can't wait to see your results. Send it to me. You'll get your own graph and pie chart. And also all of you who are halfway through the challenge, I've heard a lot of people sharing that you're getting appointments from it, that you're able to support lots of other businesses from it. I've seen tons of people. I mean, Steph, Pamela, a lot of people on here are adding tons of people to the network and adding value to other businesses that way. Congratulations for all of the energy that you are creating in the beginning of December. I'm so proud of how it's going and so proud of you guys. And I can't wait to see who's going to win the prizes. Also, I started writing a book on Saturday that will be out next year. So you can be the first to know about it on the wait list if you want to go to books on my website as well. So just a few things going on. I have 2 openings between now and the end of the year for people to interview for elite coaching slots. So if you know anybody, I am almost to my goal. So there will not be a lot of those one-on-one spots left. And I would love to work with people like you guys. So let me know who you have in mind that should be considered for that, and you can just make a text introduction. But thank you for being here. I'm so excited to hear what you do with what you learned today. Take a moment and write down one thing for yourself that you're going to take action on that's going to help you with your business next year. And I know Larray will be happy to celebrate that with you. Thank you all, and I will see you soon. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.